My observation is that let's keep in mind that 14th October this year made it 10 years that this case has been pending. That the matter has become too complicated for the judiciary to handle underscores our core point that this matter is more political than legal. That this is a matter for the executive branch to settle with a political sleight of hand. It's not a matter to be offered to the limited wiggle room of a court of law of the judiciary. There is a lot of wide bat, a lot of wide space left for politicians or political leaders of this country to resolve political issues that border on agitation. Why this one has become intractable is very, very, very disappointing. There's a thesis that has become intractable because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is an Igbo man. That thesis is becoming more and more valid by the day. So what is playing out in court now is nothing but the best evidence that this matter has gone beyond the province of judiciary and should be taken back, by the executive branch that started it anyway. There is no trial without prosecution. So it's the executive branch, the president, that triggered this through the office of the Attorney General. So the president can direct the Attorney General to take the case back to the table to see whether it should be resolved politically. But to try to resolve this case before the courts is becoming more and more impossible every day.
Is this a call for political intervention on this case?
Well, of course, everybody is calling for that. It's not throwing in the towel. What is wrong with calling with reconciliation when the courts of the land actually recognize it as well? Check out Section 17 of Federal High Court Act. It called on judges to seek reconciliation between litigants before them, including criminal cases. Section 174 of the Constitution empowered the Attorney General of the Federation to discontinue criminal prosecutions. So why should anybody say this matter should be resolved in courts when we have an alternative route of resolving it politically that appears to be easier and that would appear to be pleasing to everybody?
Okay, let's talk about the proceedings today.
The procedure today?
The proceedings today.
Okay.
What next?
I will yield to one of my colleagues to discuss that.
It's good for us to put the record straight. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is not saying that he will not enter defense. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said, under what law are you charging me? Going by the Constitution, there is no charge against him. That tell me the law, that the court should tell him the law upon which he's been tried. Now, my Lord is on his own saying that whatever thing that you have to say should be ruled at the final written address, and it should be upon a conviction to know whether you are supposed to be convicted or not. And Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said no. There are thresholds, there are hurdles upon which you need to cross for you to reach at that particular issue. And one fundamental issue there is that my Lord said, we are talking about issue of extraordinary rendition, the way you have been brought back from Kenya to Nigeria. And he wants somebody to come and give evidence on that. There is nothing before him. And if you watch the motion Mazi Nnamdi Kanu filed, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said, Federal High Court has given a judgment in respect of that, and also awarded 500 million naira against federal government in his favor. That judgment is in the court file. Court of Appeal, in their judgment, also gave ruling on that and made comment about that. CTC of that judgment is in the court file. Supreme Court, in their judgment, also took judicial notice of that and condemned that attitude. They are all in court file. There was a motion challenging the decision of the court where these issues are being raised, and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu made reference of the motion in the court file. Yes. And under the Evidence Act, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is saying that under the law, court is under obligation to take judicial notice of every document in your file. Yes. So asking him now to go and enter into a defense and start giving evidence on that is a waste of time. Yes. That court is on its own supposed to take to raise this issue. Yeah. Court is expected to raise this issue. Now there is a charge before me. Please, under what law? Address me on this issue before I go into trial. And Mazi Nnamdi Kanu filed a motion, and I think that motion, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said that motion should be heard, and all this issue I raised should be trashed for me to go into trial. So, and into defense. So my Lord, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu maintained his position on that. So my Lord said that he has joined to tomorrow for him to enter defense. Just like we said, we are no longer into the matter, but he's still consulting us. I am saying so. On handling his matter in court, he felt that he's competent to do that. So whatever advice he needs from us as his lawyer, we should also offer the legal advice, just to get the record straight, so that people will not say that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu refused to enter defense. No, there is no such issue. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said, address me on this issue. Okay. That is the position.
The honorable member here.
My name is Right Honorable Obi Akocha. I represent the great people of Ikwu and Umuahia North and Umuahia South Federal Constituency of Abia State. I represent Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. From what I saw today in court, there seems to be a systemic effort being put in place to steamroll and railroad Mazi Nnamdi Kanu into putting up a defense and leading to conviction. There are procedural issues that must be heard before the matter can go forward. And I think that is the motion that must be heard, hopefully by tomorrow. Nnamdi Kanu still remains a prisoner of conscience. He's been detained unlawfully. And we are also using this medium to continually call on Mr. President to invoke Section 174 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended for the Attorney General to enter another prosecute, at least before the determination of the court. We are very optimistic that Mr. President, that we know is a listening and attentive president, and that he will do the right thing in the shortest possible time. Thank you.
Okay. My colleague here, I would like to wrap.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. Well, as an ordinary citizen, as I'm not speaking now as a lawyer, as an ordinary citizen, if I am brought before a court of law, I should know the law that I have contravened.
Yes.
You cannot ask me to enter a defense for a law that does not exist, and particularly the law that the Supreme Court itself has declared non-existent. So what will I be defending? We're in a country where our laws are written. This is not England, where you have an unwritten constitution or unwritten law. We have a country where all our laws are in black and white. This is a lawmaker here. They made the law we're talking about. And if you ask him, he will tell you that there is nowhere they made chapter 45 of the criminal code. They didn't make it. The honorable, did people make that law? It is not in existence. So who made that law? Who made that law? Was that law made by the Attorney General's office? And the Attorney General does not have the powers to make laws. So I am saying, as an ordinary citizen, that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is completely right and within Section 36 of the Constitution, which borders on his fundamental right to fair hearing, to be charged in a court with a law that is in existence, not with a law that is not existing.
As you can see the way I dressed, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, for the purpose of this trial, is representing himself in this matter. So, and on this particular issue, we are not acting as his consultants. I'm not the only one. He has many consultants, both foreign and local, whom he consults on this particular issue, not representing him here. Now, if you recall, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has to tell you that he's ready for his defense, has listed the witnesses he intends to call in this particular matter. So, in the course of consulting, he discovered that the law upon which he's been charged and tried does not exist. So, ordinarily, the court is expected to raise this issue and ask the parties to address him on this issue, whether the law does exist. So now Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has raised the issue and said that I cannot enter defense because in a criminal jurisprudence we have a procedure. The procedure is that for you to even assume jurisdiction, there must be a law. For the law to even exist, for you to rely on that law, the law must be an existing law. And Mazi Nnamdi Kanu now on his own filed a motion on this particular issue, telling my lord that the law upon which I'm being tried does not exist, in line with Section 36 sub 12 of the Constitution. But my lord on his own, just like what we said, my lord on his own said that section is talking about conviction. And Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said, no, you can't be talking about conviction without trial. The trial will lead to conviction. So for you to even talk about conviction, you must first of all address all those issues that will lead to conviction. So that is why we are here. It's not as if that he don't want to enter defense, but he's saying, tell me the law upon which I'm being charged and tried.
But why are we here at this stage, knowing that at the point he once pleaded not guilty, and then the witnesses from the prosecution were examined and cross-examined?
If you say that you are not taking plea, then how will you tell the judge to discharge and acquit you for no trial? Because you first of all plead guilty. Are you saying you first of all plead guilty for court to have jurisdiction for you to even make an application? If you do not plead guilty, there is nothing before the court. So that was the issue. And he's now saying that if the law, the charges upon which I pleaded guilty, does not exist. We are talking about law.
Yeah, what about the trial? There was a trial.
The defense opening their case.
The prosecution.
You can raise it. The law said that you can raise all this issue at any stage. Okay. Before judgment, you can raise it at any stage, either before prosecution open his case, upon prosecution closing his case, or at any stage. So that's the stage Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is. So on our own, so we believe that the court will first of all hear this particular motion. I'm saying that just like the court has every right to take decision one way or the other. Then Mazi Nnamdi Kanu still have opportunity of going on appeal.
Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
You can't convict me without trial. Nnamdi Kanu tells Justice Omotosho. Welcome back again to this channel. This is AbelPerspectives, your home for unfiltered news and raw political analysis. Today, we are unpacking the legal and political earthquake around Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's court case. The 24-hour ultimatum issued by the Justice Omotosho and the court lack of jurisdiction. The Kenyan court, of course, you should remember, had a ruling on this case about the way he was actually taken from Kenya to Nigeria. Of course, they talk about the rewards of damages and why many voices now say that this can only end politically. Stick with me, I will take you point by point and explain the law, the politics, and what to expect next. Justice James Omotosho gave Nnamdi Kanu an ultimatum to enter his defense or risk losing that right. That is the routine procedural steps courts use to keep trials moving. But in Kanu's case, it collides with its argument that the court lacks jurisdiction because of how he was brought back to Nigeria. But the question is, does Nigerian court have jurisdiction to try him? Let's understand this. Why the court can try him? Nigerian courts, including the Supreme Court and the Federal High Court, have repeatedly held they can try suspects on terrorism, treason-related charges, so long as the indictment falls within national criminal law. In the past, the Supreme Court has allowed terrorism charges to proceed against Nnamdi Kanu after appeals and what they call interlocutory rulings, which support the federal government position that domestic courts retain jurisdiction. Now, why do Kanu and supporters argue the court cannot try him? Kanu's defense points to alleged unlawful rendition. They argued that because he was forcibly taken and brought to Nigeria outside lawful extradition, the initial detention and transfer violated fundamental rights, and that the court must take judicial notice of those facts before asking him to open his defense. This flows from a claim that an unlawful rendition taints the whole process and undermines fairness. But then, what does the Nigerian Constitution say as regards to this? Section 36(1) guarantees the right to a fair hearing within a reasonable time by a court established by law. That protects Kanu's right to fair trial. Then Section 36(11), related parts, protects accused persons from being compelled to give evidence against themselves and underpin the right to silence and to a proper defense. These parts are central when a defendant claims procedural or right violation. In June 2025, a Kenyan court found Kanu's 2021 abduction and transfer unlawful and held it violated his rights and awarded damages. That ruling strengthens Kanu's factional claim that the transfer was totally illegal. But courts globally differ on whether an unlawful rendition automatically defeats jurisdiction. The old doctrine made captus, benetentus versus critics. Some courts, notably US precedents in past cases, have allowed prosecution despite irregular capture. Other jurisdictions and international human rights rulings weigh state sovereignty and human rights violation more heavily. That patchwork is why the legal fight is really complex. Let's not forget, Nigerian courts have in earlier episode awarded damages also over invasion of Kanu's home and violation connected to how the security agencies acted, and the Kenyan courts have now also awarded compensation for the 2021 event. Those rulings are political and legal ammunition for Kanu's side when they argue the process against him is tainted and unconstitutional. The question now is, can the court now force him to open his defense since Nnamdi Kanu has insisted that the court doesn't have jurisdiction to try him? A court can set deadlines and say enter your defense or be treated as having viewed the right to avoid endless delay. Procedurally, that is normal. Court must balance speedy trial against the accused's rights. But if the accused convincingly shows that the pre-trial process, abduction, torture, unlawful transfer, violated his substantive rights, the court can be forced to address those threshold issues first, possibly by admitting judicial notice of facts or ordering fresh hearing on admissibility and jurisdictions. Expect the defense to push threshold motions. Expect the prosecution to insist the record allows trial to proceed. Both are legally sustainable positions. So at this point, I see that the whole trial process is going to be stalled. And like I do say, this is why a political resolution is arguably the best and only realistic way out of this whole thing. The case cuts across law, sovereignty, and international relations, that is between that of Kenya and Nigeria, and secession politics. A purely legal solution will provoke appeals, cross-jurisdictional disputes, and likely more unrest in the southeast. If perceived as illegitimate, political bargaining, plea, negotiated settlement, or nolly prosecute by Attorney General of Federation could remove the legal tender and produce a managed outcome. So seriously, this case is headed nowhere. What is likely to happen next? Immediate procedural talk of war. Court pressures Kanu to open defense. Kanu insists on threshold rulings about rendition and jurisdiction. Expect skirmish and short adjournment. Secondly, preliminary motions, appeals. Defense will file or insist the court take judicial notice and possibly stay proceedings. The prosecution will also resist and may seek to proceed. Expect also interlocutory appeals to higher courts. What are the possible outcomes? The court forces a defense and the trial continues with repeated appeals. Higher courts order remedies based on rendition claim. That is actually where we are at the moment. The Attorney General enters nolly prosecute, or the executive negotiates part of court political settlement. At this point, the courtroom has become more than just a place of law. It is now a stage where politics, power, and principle collide. Whether Mazi Nnamdi Kanu walks free or remains a prisoner of the system, one truth stands firm. This case has already reshaped the Nigeria's political landscape forever. The question is no longer who is right or who is wrong, but how far will justice bend before it breaks. One thing is very certain: the end of this case will not come from the courtroom alone, but from the political will of those who hold the case to freedom and truth. And as always, this is AbelPerspectives, your home for unfiltered news and raw political analysis. We give it to you the way the mainstream media cannot oblige to. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, drop your thoughts in the comment section, share, and of course, smash that subscribe button, turn on the notification so you will always be the first to catch our in-depth analysis and trend-breaking stories. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay focused.